A Toyota Prado wheelies. A Toyota Land Cruiser V8 gets stuck. A man complains. A family in a Land Rover get excited. A Ford Ranger slides. A team floors it. And the chief scrutineer can't find a pen. Welcome to round 3 of the 2016 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. In the penultimate qualifying round, teams have another opportunity to qualify for the 4 competition rounds. In those rounds, points in both the short and long wheelbase classes are accrued and count towards the overall championship. By now, you probably know that there are 4 classes, short and long wheelbase, for both standard and non-standard vehicles. The main focus is on standard vehicles, so vehicles competing in stock trim and without retrofitted traction aids, such as an aftermarket differential lock, will be eligible for the overall honours and prizes. Without further ado, let's get cracking with the 3rd qualifying round of the 2016 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. We head straight to Obstacle 1, where a man in a Toyota Fortuner is ready to rock and roll. This is Obstacle 1. It starts off with a steep descent, followed by a very tight left-hand turn through some poles at a rather uncomfortable angle. Some more gates at that same uncomfortable angle follow. And the final hurrah is a tight axle twister through some more narrow gates. Our first customers are Manny De Freitas and Christo Messenheimer. And the 4x4 Action Group team is in Manny's dearly beloved Toyota Fortuner. They seem to be doing a good job. Amazingly, the Fortuner stayed on all 4 wheels. Manny, being Manny, had something to say about the gates.
I have a complaint, it's too close.
The so-called mine shaft between obstacles 6 and 7 is an uncomfortable affair that is as steep as a petrol price increase. This is Wessel and Clarissa Duplessis in a Ford Ranger. When Clarissa emits a discreet yelp in the passenger seat, Wessel decides the time is nigh for Clarissa to help guide the Ford down the steep hill. What follows are, well, Clarissa's best rock jumping skills, as she quite unwillingly guides Wessel and the Ford down the hill. After the worst is done, she jumps back into the Ford's cabin with the presumed disaster averted. We move right along to the infamous Obstacle 4, where Henny and Sonia Lang are lining up their Toyota Hilux 2.7. As far as obstacles go, this is one of the more technically challenging tests in the qualifying rounds. Last week we saw how one very capable Jeep Wrangler made a bit of a meal of this test. Henny, though, has to deal with more than just the obstacle. He's also hearing impaired, so he battles to hear the Toyota's 4-cylinder engine sing its tune. Determined not to take out the inside pole on the first gate, Henny aims wide, but dangerously so, and the marshals intervene.
Reverse.
Ja, reverse, ja. Hij kan nou, ja.
Now, on a less risky line, Henny lets rip, literally.
Oh, yes, like. Dat ik met die verkeerde paaltje.
With the help of the marshal, Henny reverses back down the slope to try again. He gives it some Sebastian Vettel and he's through.
That's for sure.
Oh, yes, like.
The next customers at Obstacle 4 are George Dowse and Cornet Haynes, and they're in a very standard Ford Ranger. George and Cornet decide to line up the Ranger really well before entering the obstacle.
Konij, het is maar begin.
Ah, looks like they're finally ready to rumble. And despite all the meticulous planning, that first pole still dies a swift death.
Scared blown. Scared blown. Scared blown. I say. Straight.
At the bottom of the hill, George aims too wide and has to stop and reverse to avoid hitting another pole. He also uses the opportunity to engage the rear differential lock, but unfortunately, he's forgotten to fold in the mirrors. He takes out another pole while he aims for the photographer, who has to run for his life. Time to head to the shops. On the other side, a Toyota Land Cruiser takes a break on a large rock and a Hilux ramps up an obstacle. We're back at Obstacle 4, where just before the break, a Ford Ranger killed 2 poles and scared a cameraman rather comprehensively. Next up, we have Rob Wallace and Danny Daniels. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, it's because Danny is a former Club Challenge champion. So all things said, he's a pretty good asset as a co-driver. Let's see how Rob and Danny fare. Ah, well done, lads. That's 100 points signed, sealed, and delivered. Farrell Foy and Kurt Gerber are next in their long Nissan Navara. After also taking their time to line up the Datsun, Farrell decides to take out that pole in any case.
Okay, we're going to take that pole out anyway.
So I take this one out?
Yes, sir. Okay, seatbelt, windows. Full lock. You just check your side if you're happy to hit your car.
Listen to them. Yeah. And just listen to the marshal, eh?
Now that everything is to their liking, off they go.
Turn. Left, go. Good. Stop. Did one. I can't see.
I'm afraid, lads, that was 2 poles and a stop. But at least 45 points is 45 points. And that's not a bad effort in the low-slung Navara. We hop and skip along to obstacle 5. Here the teams have 2 options: a nigh impossible climb over big boulders for 100 points, or a less extreme alternative climb for a maximum of 70 points. Not surprisingly, most teams opt for the lesser of the 2 evils. This is Brian and Lorraine Style, inspecting the rocky steep climb.
Right.
With the inspection done and a plan hatched, let's ride with the Jeep. At the tight left turn, Brian decides to stop rather than risk losing points and continues the slow and steady climb up the hill in the diesel Grand Cherokee. The Jeep cruises easily through the rest of the obstacle, netting the team 60 points for their efforts. Jannie Kriel and Dani van Wyk are next in a Toyota Land Cruiser V8. And Jannie's having some troubles with the safety belt because of the lean angle of the cruiser. That's sorted, he goes for it. Now a Cruiser V8 is a rather capable 4x4, as any Toyota fanatic will go to great lengths to explain. But on this day, on this obstacle, Jannie may be experiencing a bout of camera flu. Somehow, Yanni has managed to beach the powerful cruiser on the single large rock on the obstacle. While they pack rocks, we'll take a break. When we return, we see if Yanni gets out of his predicament. Before the break, we saw Yanni, Dani and the almost unstoppable cruiser getting rather stuck at obstacle 5.
Oh, right. Okay, take all those rocks and pack them backwards, and then we're going to have to come backwards. No, I just left 2 minutes ago. Okay, pack a little bit of a landing.
Meanwhile, talk of a Land Rover Defender being dispatched to come and retrieve the cruiser inspires Yanni and Dani to double their efforts at getting the cruiser unstuck. And so finally, belatedly and slightly embarrassingly, with Yanni uttering many adjectives, the cruiser is extracted and it completes the obstacle.
Hier is spook hierso.
Obstacle 6 is another two-option business. Option 1 is the more challenging, heading over a narrow wooden bridge and topped off with a tricky climb up and over some slippery sand and rocks. This is worth 100 points. The second option is easier, but still quite a challenge. The track leads down some rocks and up some rocks, but it is certainly less intimidating than that bridge crossing. This is Robbie van Onselen, and he's driving a very beautiful Toyota Hilux SFA. That's the old school Hilux with the solid axles. And Robbie is heading for that narrow bridge. Robbie and the Lux make it over the bridge without any pains, but then, oh no, the Toyota spins to a stop with too little momentum. Robbie has another go, but the result is the same. Okay, so maybe it's a case of third time lucky. This time, Robbie really lets the 2.4 litre engine rip, and he wheelies the Hilux up and over the obstacle.
Bit scary, but it's nice. I enjoyed it.
Safety belts, safety belts. Okay. I had the camera back on.
This is Eric van Oppel, and Andrew Linnington is giving the directions from the outside. Eric drives a Prado 80 short wheelbase, and the back seat is filled with a row of kids that are absolutely enthralled with their electronic devices. The kids take no notice of the fact that Eric has decided to go for the 100-point bridge option either. Oh wait, now they've noticed something is up. The Prado elegantly wheelies up and over the rocks, bagging a cool 100 points in the process. We conclude this episode's action with the Feltzman family, who are in a Land Rover Discovery 2 V8. On this sand test, the teams have to complete the Gymkhana-style course in exactly 80 seconds. Arrive too early and you lose points. Arrive too late and you lose points. And if you miss a gate or hit a pole, you lose even more points. Many of the other teams use a stopwatch to gauge their progress through the test, as one maybe would expect them to do, since this is, after all, a competition. The Feltzman family, on the other hand, seem more intent on having fun, which is also a grand plan. We reckon anyway. So instead of a time-measuring apparatus, Mom Dinky rather holds on for dear life, along with their two daughters, as Dad Vernon makes the V8 engine emit some delightful noises. The Landy completes the test in a new record time. Unfortunately, that brisk pace and a missed gate did mean very few points, but hey, the Feltzman family sure had plenty of fun. Time to find out who came out tops in this third qualifying round. Although the really big prizes are up for grabs at the Challenge final in November, the top 3 standard class teams received some cool prizes in the qualifying rounds. In third place overall was Johan Blanche, who completed the competition all by himself after his co-driver Marlene had to withdraw at the last minute. Johan won a cool spade and working light, courtesy of Opposite Lock. In second place, and their first ever Club Challenge competition, were Andre Stradom and Bernie Putter in a Toyota. The team won a 20-inch MRO light bar from Opposite Lock. Taking the top podium spot were former champions Marco and Joe Marinkovic in their unstoppable and unflappable Mercedes-Benz Geländewagen. The team won a Bridgestone tyre voucher worth 10,000 Rand. And that's it for this week's qualifying round of the 2016 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. We'll see you next week for the last qualifying round before the action really hots up. Till then.